on the Lewis Automotive Hotline, former Arkansas pitcher and part of the Teague Law Firm. James, they're taking the field right now. I'm sure you wish you could, but who knows? You may be coming out of the courtroom today.
Yeah, I got out early this morning, so I'm kind of having a little bit more of just a chill work day at the office. I don't know. I'll let them take over from here. I think they're a little bit better suited to do what they need to do out there.
Pretty important weekend for Arkansas. It's the final weekend before you start to play SEC teams. Things take a big leap forward in terms of just about everything that you're facing from opponents, and, of course, going on the road next week. When you played here, what did you view this last weekend of non-conference any differently than any of the others?
No, I think it's still business as usual. I mean, some of the arms, I think, have had, flashes of good, flashes of getting hit around a little bit, flashes of, a little wild. I mean, it's kind of up and down. So I think you're just still trying to refine your stuff, figure out how you're going to get guys out going into conference, and just use that as kind of a learning couple of games. You still got to win those games, but figuring out, okay, what's working and what's not, and how do I kind of get that ready for conference.
What do you think's important for Gabe Gackle today? He got hit around last weekend.
Yeah, I think he needs to find an out pitch that he can go to and find a fastball that works to not get hit. I think it's kind of the same formula for everybody. You get behind in counts, and if you get behind, you have to throw breaking balls for strikes. If you don't, you're going to walk people. And if you can't throw breaking balls for strikes, you have to really locate a fastball. Well, if guys are selling out for a fastball, a lot of guys now, even if it's 95, 97, if they know it's coming and it's not located, they're going to hit it, whether it be Charlotte or Ole Miss. These guys can hit fastballs. And so I think for him, locate the fastball, get a breaking ball over for a strike, and then get a breaking ball out pitch. That's always the winning formula.
Yeah, and it felt like well, it didn't feel like Charlotte did have. They had something on him where they just they knew where he was locating, where it is that he's throwing to, and he hit that spot. And when he hit the spot, they knocked it. They hit it hard, which says something about their plan. But also, I wonder if it said something about the self scout. Sometimes we scout the opponent so much, but the opponent's scouting you just as much. You got to kind of watch your own tendencies.
Yeah, I've never totally bought into the idea that guys are sitting on pitches or that they've got my pitches. I think it's more or less guys are looking for a fastball or looking for a breaking ball in certain counts, and if I don't locate it and they're looking for it, they're going to hit it. So it's as much about pitch sequencing and about, whether you're ahead or behind in counts as it is, tipping pitches, so to speak.
Understood. Have you got a chance to watch Beidelshees now that Gage Wood, it looks like he may be on the way back sometime soon. I think he's throwing a football, maybe throwing a baseball soon. Really, it just takes him a couple of bullpens, and he might be ready to go. Who knows if it's 2 weeks or so. But Beidelshees, to me, this guy is an SEC starter all the way.
Yeah, I think so. I think he was kind of on the bubble there with Wood. But kind of like we talked about, when you've got two guys who can do it and one goes out, it's a lot better than when you're just trying to scrape together three. He's looked really good. I think Root has looked really good. Kind of guys who walk around like they've been there before, maybe even if they haven't, in an SEC environment. Just kind of like know what you're going to get kind of guys, which you really need, I think, going into conference to feel confident that you're going to have guys that can go late into games and give, your offense a chance to score some runs, and then your bullpen to do what they need to do to hold that lead.
So Kahio Aloy is one of the big talks, not just of the team, but of all of college baseball over these first 3-4 weeks. He leads the nation in batting average and RBIs per game. What's the equivalent of that kind of a heater for a pitcher? Let's say for a hitter, well, the ball looks huge. You can see the spin coming out of the pitcher's hand, and sometimes it's difficult to explain. What's the equivalent like that for a pitcher to be on a heater?
Yeah, I mean, when you're on a heater as a pitcher, it means that you just rear back and throw it, and it happens to go where you want it to go. It's kind of like, you just, instead of hoping for the best, you can just be really aggressive. You can throw it hard. You can look into it. It just kind of works out. Probably kind of how Aloy is feeling, to where he's just kind of seeing and hitting, and it's pretty simple. It's not super analytical. It's not guessing. It's just like see ball, hit ball, back to the basics. I mean, that's what a heater felt like for me as a pitcher. It was just kind of easy. Just throw it. Oh, throw a breaking ball. Oh, throw a curveball, change up. Okay. Kind of simplify a little bit.
And the repetition and the routine is also an aspect of it for a hitter. And I would think maybe for a pitcher, it's a little more difficult to maintain that because, when you were working out of the pen, you were never quite sure when it is you're going to pitch.
I think that plays in a little bit, but I think everyone knows, these heaters, they come and they go. No one is on like a lifelong heater unless you're just like the best player of all time or a Hall of Famer. So, I mean, I think for him, it's kind of staying grounded, keep doing what he's doing, stay in his process. He's going to cool down eventually. He's going to face some better arms. So kind of that even keel approach, keep trying to produce, don't get ahead of ourselves kind of deal.
Did you see, this might have happened a couple weeks ago, I've seen this guy, this Jeffrey Yan, who pitches in the Rockies organization, does this crazy on-field celebration, even at spring training when he strikes a batter out. He's doing the splits. I've never seen anybody really celebrate quite like that on the pitcher's mound. I've seen some batters do some crazy things, but a pitcher doing splits to me was just really about 5 steps too far. What to you is too far in terms of on-field celebration?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's just objectively too far. I get it. You're excited and all the rest, but sometimes you've got to make whether it be like, shooting the arrow in the sky or maybe it's the Chapman stare down or whatever it is, part of making a name for yourself and making yourself, noteworthy is some of the antics. Now, does it go too far or not? I mean, you can't really hit pitchers like you can hit batters. I mean, maybe you hit a guy for Miami if he's doing it or who he's playing for. But, but there's also, to be frank, there's, once you get, I saw a lot in the minor leagues. There's just cultural differences. A lot of, some of the Dominican guys are a little bit more outgoing. You kind of see that as well with the Eloy brothers, and we saw that with Rick Namira when I played with them. There are just cultural differences between how different people play the game. We see it all the time at the World Baseball Classic. So people do it differently, maybe not better or worse, but, to me, I think some of it probably goes a little too far.
To me, though, that was also one of the things I enjoyed about being around pro ball was the cultural differences and how the clubhouses was just in some teams, the guys of different backgrounds would get along. In some other cases, not so much. Sometimes the wins and the losses would go along with that. But, that stood out to me about pro baseball. It's a little different in college baseball, but it's a different world, really. Pro baseball compared to college baseball, and it's not just the on-field stuff. It's the fact that you're around so many different cultures, too.
Oh, yeah. I mean, the one thing about, especially the Dominican culture is there's no music that was too loud in the locker room ever. You go in, I mean, it is always blaring. It was always loud. I remember one time we had our third baseman. He was a big guy. And I said, hey, man, can you just turn that down? Like, we're trying to, it's 4 hours before a game. We're just trying to eat lunch. And he goes, headphones, Poppy. I go, what? He goes, headphones, Poppy. Like, it's too loud for you. Get some earbuds. I'm not turning anything down. So I remember that. But, yeah, I mean, it's the whole world in pro ball that's different compared to playing, college.
So how'd it go? Last Friday, we caught you just literally moments before you were running into the courtroom for a I almost felt like you were coming out of the bullpen, like heading onto the pitcher's mound at that moment.
Yeah, it was very similar to the you radio down, get Teague hot, get hot, you gotta scramble, gotta go now. Now we do I represent a lot of criminal defendants, and we do Zoom court. And so they're actually zooming in from the jail, and so they just call the inmates in a list. And you have an idea of when your person will get called or people, but you don't always know. And then when they call your person, you got to zoom in. They call the case. You got to be prepared to address whatever hearing it is for that kind of day. So it was really bad timing because I thought, I've only got one person on the docket. They could be called at any time, and they happen to call them in this 15-minute span where I'm on your show. But, it worked out. We got the case called and got it over with, so it was all right.
That's right. And we've got a relief guest for you for the next couple of weeks. Looking forward to having Robert on with us too. So we might get a little more into the background of James Teague than we usually get, at least for the next 2 weeks.
Yeah, you got to ask him about some stories. He kind of, he was not shy, when I was playing growing up, we'll leave it at that. And, obviously my biggest fan, through all the travel ball and everything else. And a big guy, not afraid to be a presence out there in the stands. So you'll have to get into some of those stories with him. I think people would enjoy it. But, yeah, I'll be I got a little procedure I got to get done, so he'll be filling in for a couple weeks for me.
BetOnline is the world's most trusted betting platform and your number one source for online betting in 2025. Whether you're a seasoned fan or a first-time bettor, BetOnline is your ultimate game day companion. With the largest selection of odds on everything from NBA and college basketball to the NHL and UFC, BetOnline continues to be your number one sports betting source. From every three-pointer to hat trick, BetOnline has you covered with odds, stats, and more for every game, every play, and every win. BetOnline, the game starts here.